Hello, everyone. It's Brian of TinyCryptoBlog. Welcome to the weekly summary for today, December 8th, 2023. I apologize for the late start. Sometimes life gets in the way. This week, the topic of conversation, or just what the summary would fall down to, it's one of these things. Normally I keep notes, and this was a case where I knew I wouldn't need any notes because there's a lot that needs to come out. This is especially focused if you are a U.S. resident, because this applies to you mainly, but could apply to anyone else. And with the news that broke a few Fridays ago about the Binance settlement, as well as the trumped up charges on Kraken, we had the curtain pulled back, the veil uncovered, and we could see just where things are going in the United States. We have a situation where the legal, taxation, and regulatory environment would seek to have 100% total disclosure of crypto assets and wallets, wallet addresses of users for US citizens. That is the end goal. Pardon me, put this on silent. Anyway, that is the end goal. That is what would ultimately be desired. And that would necessarily, and honestly, I couldn't tell you if that would be, how much of that would be out of maliciousness, out of a malicious want for control, and a dislike, a genuine dislike of people being sovereign. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you between that on the one side, and on the other side, it's just the banal face of evil, where it would be as a matter of consequence, because you have over here, you have the taxing authorities that need the transparency to make sure that people aren't cheating and they're paying their taxes. And then you have the regulatory bodies who are making sure that people are complying so they can play their role of fighting crime and money laundering and cheating and investing, whatever the hell that's supposed to be. And then you have people, and then you have, oh, hey, got a comment. Let's Crypto Coin Mindset. Welcome, Keith. Good to have you. So, going on my roll here. And then you've got the investment funds and the banks and all of the established monetary interests in this large web, who they want to play along with the game, and they want the rules to be whatever is optimal for them to be able to make money off of trades and transactions. And if that means playing ball with whatever the taxing authorities and the regulatory bodies are throwing out there, so be it, as long as they can get their slice. And having that kind of transparency, and that would be the end goal. I think there'd be pushback for that. But the problem is, with KYC, Know Your Customer Rules, which was originally set up for banking, investing, finance, with the idea that you establish an ID to an account so it is known who is involved with a particular transaction as a means of verification that it's not dirty money. Well, when you can do an internet search and look up all the illegal activity going on. The famous one being HSBC laundering money. People at HSBC branches laundering money for Mexican drug cartels outright, knowingly, in cahoots, doing it deliberately. So the laws are there, but they're used as they're needed, not as they should be applied. With the KYC net that's currently in place, if you think of everything from a lot of the crypto exchanges to a lot of the on-ramp services, I can think of some that I'm familiar with, like Swan Bitcoin. If you use the Fold card and you use you make regular buys through their app, that's through Fortress. Well, that's KYC'd as well. You have to do the driver's license and verification of information. And then everything that goes on in those apps or at those companies, it's tied to a bank account that has your identity. So right there, if a law or a regulation got passed that said to whatever, either companies that operate within the boundaries of the United States or incorporation of the United States, or has users who are US citizens or physically in the United States, you must disclose this information. Well, the people in these companies are under the squeeze. Either they comply, they move, or they shut down. And if they move, it's hoping damn well that wherever they go to, the US, the feds, and the agencies don't have the squeeze on the people in that country to make them force these same people who are trying to flee the squeeze from having to reveal the information anyway. So even if we're don't have to do a de facto disclosure, like say in a tax form where my wallet address, blah, 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 has so much Bitcoin and so much Ethereum and so much blah, blah, blah as of whatever reporting date, by being able to push and also just look at what is already existing on the records, 2 and 2 and 2 can be put together to figure out, well, Brian Cost has this much Bitcoin. Bob Jones there has this much Ethereum, because we can see that they bought it from this service, moved it to a privately hosted wallet on this date, this wallet address, and when you go into a 100% verifiable and open, auditable blockchain ledger, they can see what's there. And so the US, from a privacy standpoint, from as far as the human sovereignty, because one of the things that got me excited about Bitcoin, and I've said this before, is how humanity is undergoing, and actually it's been undergoing changes in how we organize ourselves. We've been going through this pretty much since the advent of the internet, because we're getting more and more information about how we live around the world, how we communicate, how we interact. And all this technology, all this information is transforming our understanding of the world. And all these digital platforms we're getting this information on is changing how we interact with each other, where it's a more peer-to-peer world. The world's gotten smaller. I mean, if you go back just 20 years, the number of people from then to today who know people or interact with people in other countries, even if they're just Western nations or similar nations by language or religion or whatever cultural identifiers, has increased many times fold. And as we're changing how we interact with one another, Bitcoin is a product of this energy and an enabler of it, where you can have privacy or pseudo-anonymity with peer-to-peer transactions, with censorship-resistant internet money of the internet. And when you are a user in the United States or any other jurisdiction that has this KYC information, as a sovereign person, you lose that pseudo-anonymity. You're having a third party stick its nose as an intermediary into the transactions where you're being monitored. You don't have that privacy to exercise your sovereign rights to decide who to interact with and how you interact with. And that is going to be it is an absolutely huge thing. It's something that's been bubbling, and just like the snowflake that started rolling down the mountain in the 90s, now it's building up and building up and building up, and it's going to be the way. It's going to be a much more prominent characteristic in the upcoming years that we'll be more aware of, that we'll be living by, where there is respect and people stand up for themselves, people have backbone, and people respect one another, especially those who mirror those values. And Bitcoin is that one means of communicating value between that. And in the US, this is at risk. This is at risk. So what can you do? What can you do? If you've bought all of your Bitcoin, you bought all your crypto on KYC on-ramps, well, make noise, push for privacy, push for rights, and try and look for platforms, decentralized protocols, decentralized exchanges, and mine. If there is any way you can mine crypto or mine Bitcoin, do it. You can mine at home. You can find a hosted facility, whether it's a large commercial enterprise, whether it's two guys who have a small farm of, 30 machines or something like that. I've seen those out there. Because all Bitcoin, when it's mined, is anonymous. It's pseudo-anonymous. It's mined to a wallet address that if there's no name connected with it, no commercial enterprise, there's no way to identify who that Bitcoin went to. And at any point along the way where Bitcoin goes from wallet to wallet to wallet to wallet, and this applies for any cryptocurrency or any crypto token, blockchain-based token, as soon as it touches a wallet that has an identifier to it, it's no longer private, because then it can be tracked. Because those entities usually require KYC'd interactions, because that's where we are with the legal, taxation, and regulatory environment. And we have, if you're mining, say like Bitcoin, even if you're mining from a pool, let's say the Brains pool, the pool itself, its wallet may be known publicly, but the distribution goes to any wallet that all you need is an ASIC miner, the address, electricity, plug it in and go. And no one knows who the address tied to that miner is. So there are options. And there's also encouragement. I don't remember I think I said this in a recent Medium post, is that in a world where incentives count and we're having jurisdictional competition, which if you live in the United States, you've seen between the blue states and the red states, Texas and California and Illinois and New York State and Florida, and how people were voting with their feet to move to places that fit their values, that fit their sense of taxation and economics and opportunities and different all kinds of values. You're seeing this globally as well, where you have with so much innovation and so much restriction in the United States, you're going to see other countries who don't have the same sort of capture moving ahead. People are going to go to those jurisdictions. And I think because humans also respond to incentives, when you have advancements of technologies and platforms and profits in one jurisdiction, people in the US, all the fund managers, the Larry Finks, the possibly the people in Washington who want to earn extra tax dollars by allowing for the growth of economic activity or whatever, whoever could profit from it's going to look at that and go, hey, we need to do that too. And that's going to move the ball another yard. It may not be moving it to the optimal point, but it's going to advance the ball. Because as someone had said, maybe it was David Icke, trying to hold back humanity during its awakening when the human spirit grows and is expanding and just becoming, it is an unstoppable, indomitable force. It's trying to suppress that is like trying to hold a beach ball under the water. You can do that, but it's going to take a lot of energy and effort. In the end, that ball's still going to come to the surface. And it's the same thing. The setbacks we're facing today, there will be disadvantages, economic disadvantages from falling behind and having a less friendly environment, but you are going to have a situation where all the other countries pulling ahead and natural human greed is going to lead to a loosening of the laws that set them back to begin with and put them behind. And this human spirit's just going to drive and grow. It's just going to go, man. And I mean, that's the ability to get KYC Bitcoin, the ability to, and other tokens that you can try and do through different means, and just the jurisdictional competition in the world as it's shaping up, that gives me hope. But that doesn't mean it's going to be any easier if you're in the US or a US resident. I mean, I understand there was an app, Abra, Bill Barnhart. He's like an OG, goes back to 2013. Now, having seen what's happening, with the Binance settlement announcement and what we're getting at full, we're seeing the full Monty of, I understand either he saw the writing on the wall or he got inside information on what was coming down the pipeline, and that's why Abra shut down their commercial operations. Maybe that's why also Bittrex stopped doing business. They wound down operations for U.S. users. I think they're shutting down globally as well. On the side note, on Marty Bent's TCFC podcast today with Matt Odell, they said the next one in the regulator sites, their speculation was Bitfinex/Tether. It's the same ownership team. So we'll see what happens with that, because Tether, from what I know, they're already in cahoots with different government agencies and regulatory bodies. So it might be a case of just opening the doors more for them and being, a de facto, I know it's been said like stable coins could be through regulations could become in usage, the de facto central bank digital currencies, where just from being able to monitor transactions on an open blockchain, you can track who has what and what coins go where. We'll see. I mean, it's definitely potential there. But I just realized I had his comments. Yeah. Good to have you, Keith. Good to have you. Glad there's other like-minded people out there. It's reassuring. We're with Bitfinex, maybe the exchange goes down, or maybe it gets Coinbase, in which case it's the full KYC. It becomes one of these exchanges that, it's like a tech company. They just let the agencies in and do as they please. So I don't know. But you need to be mindful of the potential that if Bitcoin and other digital assets represent for you the ability to build a new world, to be a sovereign being and exercise that sovereign power, you need to consider the worst case scenarios of potential confiscation, potential restriction on use, potential taxation burden, and consider what does it mean to you. So, heavy stuff. The other thing I was thinking of talking about, I'll just throw it in as a little side point. I was thinking, actually, I'll put it up in a Medium article. It's a few pieces I have in my mind concerning smart contract platform ecospheres and where that's shaping up. So I appreciate everyone who's tuned in. Keith, glad you were here. Can follow along, TinyCryptoBlog.com. I will have all of the social media sites in the show notes. This recording will be going up on Anchor FM / Spotify, which also gets distributed to multiple other podcast platforms. It'll be on BitChute. It'll eventually get uploaded to Odyssey / library, and it will be on Brighteon as well. And then, I'll be sharing this on Twitter, in which case, if you're already seeing this on Twitter, once it's shared, glad you could jump in. So with that, be well, everyone. Talk to you soon.